Hello, everyone. Very warm welcome to each and every one of you tuned into the NZDB Knowledge Series. We are in our 46th episode today. We're delighted to continue bringing valuable content and engage you throughout the couple of years that when we have started the series in 2019. So this is a platform for industry to share their projects, products, technology, ideas, and really fuel discussions on energy efficiency and grow engagements for NZEBs in India. So this webinar is executed under the MAITRE program. MAITRE is an acronym for Market Integration and Transformation for Energy Efficiency. It's supported by USAID. The program works in partnership with several organizations such as Energy Efficiency Services Limited, Bureau of Energy Efficiency, and others to implement various initiatives. MAITRE is supporting the efforts moving towards a super efficient and net zero energy target for buildings in India. The NZEB Knowledge Portal is a one-stop site for information on NZEBs, and you may find more information on our website. The market transformation approach includes creating business opportunities for the private sector, scaling up of potential initiatives, enabling policies, as well as training for NZEBs. This is the website I just mentioned. You can explore this further on nzeb.in. So coming to the topic for today's webinar, green conversations. Today, we're going to showcase a factory building. Now, the word factory brings up a specific image in my mind, which is definitely not like the one I'm shown here on the slide. The Organic India integrated facility evidently stands out, and it defies the cliched design language that all of us associate a factory building with. And on the other hand, generally, factories don't get the same attention to design and detail as a company's headquarter building would usually get, right? But this project sets higher sustainability benchmarks for a factory building with its LEED Platinum certification, among many other things that it has, integrated in the design. So what is the philosophy and motivation behind designing a manufacturing facility with good daylight, low embodied energy, and overall good environmental quality? That is exactly what we're going to learn from the panel of expert speakers today. So we have here in the room Mr. Balram Singh from Organic India, Mr. Sidhartha Talwar and Mr. Subrata Ray from Team Studio Lotus, and Mr. Gurneet Singh from EDS. We will first start. Excuse me, I just have a little cough. We will first start with Mr. Balram Singh. He is the Chief Operating Officer at Organic India Private Limited. I would like to first introduce him before we hand over the mic to him. Realizing the need to save Mother Nature, environment, and society from the ill effects of uncontrolled chemical usage, he made a humble beginning towards achieving this goal by joining Organic India 20 years back. He's been working since then with small and marginalized farmers in rural India to promote organic farming and help them generate better income. So welcome to the webinar, Mr. Balram Singh. We hand over the, you'll be the presenter now. And I would really like that you first help us understand how the project got initiated, your vision for this, and what was your brief to the design team, and that will help us understand how this outcome eventually has been achieved. So over to you.
Balram, you have to unmute yourself.
Balramji, please try one more time. Unmuting. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Deepa, and good evening, everybody. My name is Balram Singh, and I have been working with Organic India for 20 years now. So, just the philosophy of our company is marry profit with purpose. There's a story actually behind Organic India. The company was started by two individuals who came to India from abroad. The gentleman is from Israel and the lady is from US. They came to India for spiritual reasons. So they had a guru in Lucknow. So that's how we are based in Lucknow. So the guru motivated actually them to help people. So the category which, after discussions, it was decided that we should help small and marginalized farmers in the rural areas. We should help them. And then we should also provide excellent quality products to the consumer and also help the environment. So that was the idea behind everything. So that's how we started working with small and marginalized farmers in a place called Azamgarh. So the farmers with which we started working were they have land holdings less than 1 acre. Certain people have less than half an acre. So it was a challenge how to help them. When we say help the farmer, there could be two ways. One is give them charity, but that is not a sustainable way. We always believed in sustainability right from the beginning. So we thought we should help them for a longer period. So when you say help farmer, so it means only one thing, that you have to increase the income from their small holding. So that was actually a big challenge, because with the small holding, if they were growing traditional crops, so then it was not possible to increase their income. So after a lot of deliberation, we thought that we should grow high value crops like medicinal plants with them so that they get a better income. So that's how we started growing Tulsi. Actually, we are the very first company to grow Tulsi as a field crop. You may have seen Tulsi plants in households, but not in fields. So we grow Tulsi as a field crop. As on date, every year we purchase more than 1,000 metric ton of Tulsi leaves from the farmer. And the second thing which we did was that we presented Tulsi leaves in the form of tea, which was also one of the innovation which we did. And third thing is that we started doing certified organic agriculture way back in 1997. So that's how the company began. We always believed in fair pricing, whether it was a farmer or we were dealing with the consumers, and no exploitation, caring for the environment. So our core values are total integrity, absolute commitment to quality, respect and devotion to Mother Nature, no compromise on being who we are, service to all. So with this core values, we started 20 years back, and we have built this organization where the brand is recognized well in the market now. So we have an excellent distribution network in India, and we export to more than 40 countries. So our vision is to be a vehicle of consciousness in the global market by creating a holistic, sustainable business modality which inspires, promotes, and supports true wellness and respect for all being and for Mother Nature. Actually, the main three principles and the pillars of the organizations are sustainability, holistic approach, and consciousness. So if we have to further, if I have to further explain that, so when we come to sustainability, so that organic agriculture is sustainable because by usage of chemicals in a unmindful way, we have spoiled the whole agriculture cropping cycles. And now if you see even in conventional crops also, the pesticide residues are not being accepted by any of the countries. So we always motivated farmers to go for organic agriculture and long-term benefit to the farmers. So we always thought that we should work with the farmer in a way so that they get a long-term benefit every year, year over year. And of course, in the process, we should be helping the environment. We have a very holistic approach that all the stakeholder in the business, in our case, it is Mother Earth and environment, because we are into our organic agriculture. We are benefiting by cultivating organically, the whole land is benefiting. Farmers who are there in the one of the major stakeholders in our case, they get better prices, they get assured purchases. We assure them right from the beginning that we will be giving you this crops and we will be purchasing those crops. And of course the employees, we treat them very ethically. We have 8 hours work and excellent work environment. Of course, consumer. So we are offering excellent product to the consumer, which promotes health. Apart from that, we also say that we are conscious, always aware, and take into consideration the consequences of our business activities on the planet and environment and the ecosystem around us. So we don't do anything which will harm the environment or the ecosystem. Now, when it comes to this project, actually there is a story that around 15-16 years back, we had a visioning workshop where we exactly saw this plant. So that's how when we met Studio Lotus team, we gave them the brief to convert that vision into reality, wherein interconnectedness of various elements of the factory, be it office block or production or warehouses or finished good stores, and to connect highly engineered facility with the social, physical, environmental sustainability, which include vastu, climatic conditions in various places in the premise. The quality of light should be excellent. We should be using the local materials as far as possible. There should be open spaces and a good integration of all the services. So this was a brief given to the designers who are with me today, and they will be telling you more in detail. So this vision, which I told you the story, that 20 years old vision, we converted into this factory with efficient production, which is clubbed with efficient utilization of natural resources. And of course, whatever energy we are using, it should not be wasted. It should be utilized efficiently. Water should be, I mean, this plant is zero discharge plant. We don't discharge even single drop of water. We utilize all the water, whatever we are, whatever wastewater comes, we treat it well, filter it, utilize in the garden. You can visit our facility. It is excellent premise. And of course, the work environment for the occupant has to be excellent again. So the key challenges, I mean, the design itself was a challenge because we have an L-shaped plot. Actually, we were thinking of purchasing 6 plots and combining them, but somehow we could get only 5 plots. So we had an L-shaped building. So this itself was a big challenge, but I have to really salute Studio Lotus team and all my colleagues who put in an excellent design in this plot. Then, of course, the budgetary constraints, because we, right from the beginning, we thought we should aim for LEED Platinum certification. So we had to do extra insulation. Construction material has to be done as per the norms. Sourcing has to be done as per the norms. All electrical motors and other appliances has to have 5-star rating. And of course, we intended to put in as many solar power generation systems as we could in that plant. Of course, the timeline got extended. We have to compromise on the security on the premise lighting, which we were told that we had to keep it at certain levels only, not beyond that. So and then of course AHU fresh airs and solar power maximization. So these were the challenges which we faced during when we were undertaking this project. The most interesting design feature, I will say, after we have installed it, is the natural light. So which gives a very positive feeling to all the occupants, whether it is inside the factory or in the office or you work within the premise. This does not, as Deepa has already told, this is not a this doesn't look like a factory, in fact. So we are very proud and we really get a lot of appreciation by the visitors who come here that this is an excellent premise as far as if we call it, it as a factory. The experience so far has been excellent. We have an excellent production. Actually, we do produce more than 25 million tea bag every month. And people look forward to come to the premise every day. And of course, we have lawns, corridors. We have an excellent canteen there and experience center. So I will say we are very proud. We can see a lot of commercial buildings which have LEED Platinum rating, but I see very rarely any factory which has this, and I'm very proud that we have this, and I'm so thankful to all my colleagues who made this possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Balramji. For sharing that story, the philosophy and vision of your company. And I can see that it's not only for the customers who use the products, but it's also trickled down, or you brought it to the employees who are making these, products for the customers. And that's of course evident in the experience that you've shared, that ultimately the building has shaped such that you are actually enjoying these benefits of wellness and other environmental attributes as per the original philosophy and the idea that you shared for the company. So I just give me 1 minute. I need to show my screen. Yes. So let's now hear from the design team of how they brought this vision to life. Of course, now that the building is built, we can see everything. It's very easy to appreciate the beautiful outcome. But when nothing, it was just like few words on paper. Then how was everything, conceptualized? What was the process like? And that's what we want to hear from Studio Lotus. Please share with us the story of the process and eventually how things are shaped to be the way it is, as we see in these beautiful photos of the project. Before we hand over the controls to you, I'd like to introduce our speakers from Studio Lotus team. Mr. Sidhartha Talwar is the principal at Studio Lotus, a New Delhi-based multidisciplinary design practice. He co-founded with Ambrish Arora and Ankur Choksi in 2002, spanning the domains of master planning, architecture, interior design. The work of award-winning practice is grounded on the principles of conscious design, an approach that celebrates local resources, cultural influences, and inclusive process, and keen attention to detail. So clearly, this case study is going to bring all of that out. Presently, Sidharth leads the architecture and master planning initiatives for the practice, working extensively on large-scale developments for a diverse clientele with a focus on spatial articulation, environmental planning, and sustainable and modular construction methodologies. And with him joining here is Subrata. He has over 11 years of domain experience in designing and execution of architectural projects. A graduate from D.Y. Patil College of Architecture, Pune, he brings an expertise of handling national and international large-scale projects, including townships, master planning, high-rise, residential, commercial, workspace, and many other kinds of building typologies. So I welcome Studio Lotus team to the webinar, and over to you.
Thank you, Deepa, for introducing us. Thank you, Balramji, for taking us through for revisiting the vision which we shared with each other many years back. And then it takes me back to the times when we got our initial briefing and many visits, and in fact, even when the project completed, our visits to the factory again and the warm welcome which Organic India you personally have bestowed upon us. It's been a privilege to work on this project, I must say. So let me start sharing our points of view when it comes to looking at architectural design of the project. I think to encompass, like just to summarize, it's an integrated production facility for Organic India. And since there are all stakeholders here, from the client sharing his vision to us shaping the planning, and EBS and Gurneet looking at the sustainability energy aspect, it's basically a LEED platinum rated development that encompasses the full production process of a wellness brand. So it kind of captures all different criteria what we are talking about here. So while I distinctly remember, and of course Balramji has shared the vision in great detail, but I distinctly remember a very detailed briefing and immersion session which happened very initially, and it was covered by all stakeholders, as he mentioned, including Bharatji and Bhavaniji in the beginning, and then Williamji, and then especially Abhinandan and Balramji, who have been the key partners to the project. And I think the process really started with that immersion and the charades which we had almost in Delhi. I remember on many occasions in Lucknow at their existing plant before the new plant came up. And I think that really paved path of this journey and the project taking its shape. And that's what it's like, getting to understand what it's like to be part of the community. And we then got very highly inspired by the strong vision he had about the project. I don't think the vision, creating that vision of any project we have ever gone at before, which I think really made it distinctive. And I found the concept of interconnectedness very enriching and beautiful as an emotion. And I think that concept of interconnectedness we have tried creating and integrated in the campus as much as possible. And I think this picture kind of talks about because there is a huge story to go back to and many incidents, but I think just to capture it in one frame, on the left probably is a picture of any typical production plant, you can call it, but on the right, like a bird's eye view, what you see is of the campus which we created, co-created with clients and our other stakeholders. And I think it's combining the soul and the ethos of the values and the vision of the company, and also create into the technical parameters of a highly rather engineered facility. And I think, as we mentioned earlier, the social, physical, environmental, and psychological sustainability, I would say, of course, it takes care of Vastu in great detail. Climatic conditions have been thoroughly integrated. Hence, You see the angle to the buildings on a complete north-south axis, the Brahmstan being open, which also creates series of courtyards. We respected the Bodhi tree. It of course brings in the quality of light, and of course the use of local earthy materials which were available nearby. So you can see the placement of this campus in the paddy fields around, which was largely the vision, like the view, like the picture of the project, to keep it low rise and not really go very high there, and spread it around with series of courtyards. And again, to see that versus making into a typical factory shed like block, we use the existing tree and how to take care of the light and how to take care of the climate. We created different courtyards, and even the courtyards help to the well-being of the people who are working. They're just not coming inside to work in a box, they're coming into working and connected with the outdoors. That was a very primary vision we had. And again, a very simple picture of how even you clever use of local materials, which of course were cheaper, and we were trying to work on a budget, and materials which have a high thermal mass, I would say, which is why materials like exposed brickwork and filler slabs came in. And a typical canteen block could become, like the architectural features adds to the visual delight and the aesthetics of the interiors as well, leave out the exterior. The sustainability goals, which I think Gurneet will talk about later, which he will, but these were very clearly stated to us, and I guess we tried as much as possible to integrate them in our process. And I think I can quickly ask Subrata to explain about the planning principles of the site.
Yeah, if you want, thank you. So I'll just quickly go through how. So like when we have started this project, like our main vision was like after so much of briefing, how we can add value to the project, how we can contribute so that it will impact all the workers who will be working here and the stakeholders. So if you see the site plan, basically there's only one tree which was there initially, and when we have started orienting all the buildings, we started with the single point, and then yeah. And if you see as an option, we have started playing around that tree and started creating the courtyard, option 1, 2, and finally we have come up with the option 3, which is, so our basic thing was the building is oriented such a way there is 2 axes to it, which is characterized the whole building, and created so many courtyards, light shaft, then cutouts. So all these cutouts is basically, as per the vision, it's a space for interaction. It's a space for where each and every person can share the knowledge. So there is no such hierarchy. So it allows, the workers to have a interaction with their seniors, with their managers. So the environment, the planning is such a way it allows each and every kind of a communication. So that's how finally we come up with like the courtyard, and the planning is done such a way that we are able to conceptualize all the pedestrian movement. So when we are talking about the factory, we have a very heavy vehicle movement. So how, like, we have restricted the heavy vehicle movement, and like still we are managing the pedestrian way, and also we have mentioned how when the visitors is coming to the site, how the building will look like. So the whole building is oriented, as a north-south direction, just to get more benefit in terms of the north light, because the main shade, the factory building is oriented.
So let me add, basically, as he mentioned earlier, Subrata, we had an outdoor periphery which took care of the vehicular. So we didn't want any vehicular movement inside the L shape. And then very early on, we took the Vastu consultant on board. We had again series of meetings to really, and which is why we went into different iterations to plan perfect positions of every element, whether it's packaging, whether it is production, whether it is wastewater, whether it is the water source. Everything was planned very cleverly in the beginning. And this led to the final master plan. Of course, after the L, there is the lower corner plot, which also I think was kept as a future addition. But the series of
I think they ran out of battery.
Yeah,
So
apologize for the glitch. Yeah.
yeah, so maybe shall I present or talk about sustainability and they come back?
I think they may be back in what is the
So
We can do later,
okay.
he says.
So yes, so yeah, sure. We can continue with the project and understand the sustainability aspects about the project. Now, clearly, as the Lotus team was explaining and kind of midway into explaining or walking us through the building, we know that a green building is all about green process, and such a building is not possible without an integrated design approach, and which is very very evident in a multidisciplinary team that such a project has. So all right, so I think they're back.
right,
Okay, so I think the team is back. Maybe they want to continue. Right. So maybe we can head over to your presentation, Gurneet. Maybe they still have some uh, technical issue. Okay, they're back. Uh, Subrata, you want to continue?
we are not able to hear you, Subhata. Subhata, we are not able to hear you.
All right.
I think he is presenting, so maybe you can ask Anwar to call them and
yeah, she is
yeah.
coordinating with them. Okay, so Gurneet, we will head over to your section. So that also is a very important piece of the project, and it will only reinforce what the architecture team will share once they come online. Yes. So as I said, multidisciplinary team is pretty evident in such projects which aim for high performance benchmarks and sustainability goals. And so that is where environmental design solution brings in their expertise. And to talk more about it is our director from Environmental Design Solutions, Mr. Gurneet Singh. I'd like to first introduce him. Uh, Mr. Gurneet Singh is the director at Environmental Design Solutions. He is an experienced sustainability and energy efficiency consultant, building performance diagnostics expert, and educator, and has led the energy efficiency team at EDS for nearly 15 years. His experience includes areas such as energy sector policy and regulatory implementations, techno-economic feasibility studies, energy performance contracting projects, LEED and GRIHA certification projects. He specializes in integrated building design, using simulation tools to assist in the design and delivery of energy efficient buildings, in particular in predicting the performance of daylight systems and energy efficient cooling services. So over to you, Gurneet, and just walk us through how sustainability kind of overlapped and got integrated into the design process.
Yeah. Thank you, Deepa, for the introduction. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we all have heard from Balram ji and Studio Lotus. So the sustainability journey of this organic India, at least for us, was interesting, easy, and smooth for two reasons. The core ideology of the leadership to make this factory a, which can provide healthy environment to the worker, and the second reason was the team, and it was also equally important, and we were lucky to have team which was equally committed towards making this building efficient and sustainable. So I would like to just quickly take a moment to introduce the team. So we all have heard from Studio Lotus. There was Paradigm and Zen. So Paradigm was looking into process automation, and Zen Consultants was looking into the services part. There was Roha, the organization which looked into the landscape part. And our consultant, the PMC, which kept us on our toes throughout the project, and we as a sustainability consultant, a part of the team. So we were lucky to be a part of this great team. Now, as we know that for any sustainable project or energy efficient project, the key idea is to follow an integrated design approach. And as Siddharth has mentioned, that we had a numerous design charrettes where all the consultants were available, they were giving their input, and they understand the whole the requirement or the vision for this project. So as we started, as our role as sustainability consultant, we work with each consultant. So the first first step in this whole journey was to understand the climate and understand how the site is located. So this is the north and south orientation, just to put that in perspective. So along with the design team, we tried to keep the blocks in such a way where all the non-regularly occupied areas like the raw material storage, finished goods storage, or where there are equipments, we try to keep them in a way so that we can get enough of north light to have a daylit space. All the office spaces, so these are the office spaces, they were aligned in such a way that the openings are either facing north side or south side. So all this yellow highlighted portion, they are the facades which are like north or south oriented, and we try to put in opening there and try to keep the east and the west facade either blank. So you can see all the pink related pink facades which are more or less blank. And wherever we need to provide some windows, we try to protect them with shading or with some jali. And many cases we also try to put in services on these areas so that there is minimum heat gain from these surfaces. So key features, I mean, just in this view, so we have got all the windows shaded. So you will not see any window which does not have a shade. So this was a T block windows, and then these are your cafeteria where all the windows are shaded. We Studio Lotus designed beautiful perforation screens, which also act as which facilitated natural ventilation, cross ventilation, and also provided the space from the harsh sun, east and the west sun specifically. And as I said, that all the non-regularly occupied spaces, storage spaces, we had north light, and I will show you some pictures of the building where you can see that how well this north light is working. The second step was to look into daylighting so that we can optimize the window wall ratio. We can help in the selection of glass specification. We can also look into how many north lights are required. So a full building simulation was done for daylighting where each space was analyzed and the envelope was optimized to have glare-free daylighting into the space, because that is something that was a vision of the client. And glare-free is very important, because if you allow direct sun to come in, that means you are not making the occupant comfortable, you are actually making them uncomfortable, because direct sun will create uncomfortable environment and they will put on blinds. So the whole thought process was to optimize the window wall ratio and design the shade appropriately to avoid glare into the office spaces. And these are the pictures. So if I just see a normal warehouse, this is what you will see: a flat roof with interior lights on, and this is what is the actual picture of Organic India. Yeah, so this is on your right side is the picture of Organic India. The next task, once we have done daylighting, envelope optimization, was to also identify, since the project wanted to go for net zero, but because of space constraints, it was not possible to achieve this. So, but they were, as we said, they were very committed and they wanted to maximize the solar installation on site. So we actually did a thorough shadow analysis throughout the year and identified the areas which were shadow free, right? And then those areas were identified and solar panels were placed on that. In totality, we got around 125 kilowatt of solar panel on the roof. Other features which contributed to energy efficiency: the project has got double glazing. There are puff insulated panels which were used to reduce the heat gain into the space. Solar potential we have already talked, and the benefit of mutual shading because of the open courtyard, planning around a courtyard. So just to put numbers into this, the project was able to achieve an energy cost saving of around 32% over ASHRAE baseline, since the project also went for LEED certification with an EPI of around 150 kilowatt hour. This includes the process equipment usage also, and the on-site kilowatt was able to offset around 13% of the energy use. And besides the architectural design, it was also great working with Roha architects in optimizing the landscape. So we worked with them and tried to see what kind of species will help us in reducing the heat island effect. So there was shadow analysis done for different time of the year, and also we worked with them in terms of how we can make site more pervious, because there is always a requirement to have a fire tender movement around the campus. So keeping those things also in mind, we try to identify the areas which will contribute to fire tender movement. But since the usage is not much, we try to make them pervious. So if you see this portion at the southeast corner is basically part of fire tender movement, but this was all designed with grass pavers to take the load of fire tender, but at the same time also gives a pervious impact to the site. And so these were the areas where grass pavers were used, and these are the actual pictures of that area. So that area that we are talking, so this is all grass paver and is all green part and pervious, and these are all native species that they have planted. Another view of grass pavers and how they are being used for parking, bicycle parking, and car parking. The other aspect was water saving. So the project went for low flow fixtures. The irrigation system is all drip irrigation systems and sprinkler system. The plants that we used were all native. There is an STP which treats the water, and then that wastewater is then used in irrigation and also for flushing part. There is also a rainwater harvesting pits plant installed on the site around 382 kiloliter. And during site, and as Sidharth explained, the idea was to use locally procured materials that have got less embodied energy. During construction also, waste was managed properly. We also went for certified wood-based materials. So all the wood that is used in the project is FSC certified, and there are materials which also have a rapidly renewable materials in their composition. So just to brief on the LEED scorecard, on sustainable side we got 24 out of 26. Water efficiency we got 100%. Energy atmosphere, again, a good number of 25 points out of 35. Material losses, we got 7 points out of 14. And indoor environment quality, 11 out of 15. And regional priority and innovation design, all the full. So in total, the project achieved around 87 out of 110 points available for LEED certification. This is a quick checklist or detailed checklist. Maybe, I mean, you can go in detail if anyone is interested. We can share this with you. So this was the journey which started in October 2016, where this was the vision, and finally we got in November 2019 we got LEED certification, and you can see that whole team in this picture. Way forward, the client is really committed towards achieving net zero. So the project is looking to aim for LEED zero rating system, which is for existing building, and also not only on energy side. The client is also committed to look into achieving LEED zero on the waste front. So maybe by next year or in 2 years, we will achieve this goals too. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gurneet. It is very important to also understand the metrics behind the building and actually understand the numbers. And a lot of us, a lot of our audience really understands the benchmarks and goals and energy performance targets and so on. So I hope that gave them a good idea into the building performance. So now I think we can be back with our studio Lotus team, and they could continue from the point they had left. Yeah.
Sorry, is the voice audible now?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so sorry for the technical glitch. I won't take much time. I'd like to complete the presentation. So zooming into the layout of the campus, partly it's been explained by Gurneet, but there is the main entry point, and there is a fire tender area all across. So there is like a big arrival court, and all along the east-west axis is our walking spine, which takes us into the public building, which is number 5, 6, and 7, which is a U-shaped building around a large courtyard with the Bodhi tree, which we respected and created one of the main courtyards of the project. The number 5 is the experience center, which showcases the values and the vision of Organic India, which and has a link to the Bodhi tree from inside. And as soon as we enter number 3, and this block is largely the storage blocks where all the goods are stored, unfinished goods come in. And number 4 is again largely the tea processing area. And I guess through a conveyor belt, it kind of gets linked into number 9, which is largely the packaged goods area. So there is an overhead kind of a conveyor belt which connects the finished goods to the packaged goods area. Number 7 is the counterpoint of the experience center, which is the canteen, which again Balram spoke about, and it is nicely connected to open areas all around. Number 8 is a small block which I think focuses on all the Ayurvedic products. So you enter at 1 and then you kind of exit at 10. So the inflow, so the whole Vastu planning and the whole processing planning along with Paradigm, PDS, all the consultants was done away. It's almost like a single line of movement which kind of comes in from 1, goes through 4, 9 and then out through 10. And the public area or such as offices, experience center is this U-shaped building. We can move to the next page. So as a quick section explained earlier, on the left is the experience center, which is a double height volume, bringing enough natural light. All the blocks were kept very close to each other to induce shell shading, again explained by Gurneet earlier. Skylights he has mentioned, and again the wall window ratios were respected, and they were created in a way such that the simple brick facades could be made more and more interesting. They were solid masses, they were jalis. So we kind of visually had fun with working with the simple materials such as brick. And on the right side is the canteen and offices above. So the whole experience center to the canteen has a very nice large courtyard view, which is in fact the key space, the public space where people come, talk to each other. It's not one of the mundane activities. It's quite lively during the day of the use. And that's the aerial view finally how it shaped up. It's the entry with the arrival motor court, and on the left is where the materials bring in, and on the other side where the cursor is where the processed goods, the finished goods are taken out. So some of the quick images of how it finally shaped up. Again, as mentioned, local brick sourced from nearby local kilns, and some nice expressions of the jalis, which creates a lot of shading and delight into a mundane, a mundane activity such as a production plant. This is the entrance block, and all the corridors were ventilated, shell shaded. We avoided as much air conditioning as possible. That's the arrival area, and the upper part is the office block. This is the Bodhi tree, which has the experience center on the left and the office blocks towards the on the facing side. Or as you can see again, all the staircases are all cross ventilated, no air conditioned area. Some of the finer details where we again use simple materials such as terrazzo on the floor, probably cotta along the corridors, and wherever possible we like to introduce filler slabs of terracotta, minimizing the amount of concrete to be used, and it kind of works well with the simple vernacular language which we wanted to create. The view of the cafe with terrazzo and filler slab, just to make some excitement while they're having food. Natural materials lends itself to the color what we wanted, and these are easy to maintain as well. Again, view of the corridors where we try to leave exposed ducting services as much as exposed. Why hide them? Trying to gain some little extra height as well, and all the corridors are well ventilated, shell shaded. These are the first floor corridors. These are again some details of the masonry with brick. One of the details of a fire exit staircase. And I guess to end it, the design feature I like the most. I think the campus reflects the surrounding nature of the paddy of the crop fields, and kind of captures programmatic into these 4 main buildings, which forms a kind of a cross axis. And this has courtyards of different scales, which I think foster interaction, communication between all the people, which Subrata mentioned earlier. So it does not look like it gives you a different factory culture. It's not the mundane factory culture. I think a lot of green, clever planning adds to a lot of learning about each other, a lot of storytelling wherever possible, sitting areas, hanging around areas. So I think it is like a factory could still become a mean of a powerful social culture and adding positivity to the campus. The major takeaway, I would say, the opportunity which we got talking about presenting of the farmer stories in the experience center and how we got deeply introduced again in our initial sessions, where how the connect of people who are growing the tulsi plants and how the whole process of making it into a product, like how organic India kind of captures the local roots and the local influences into such a large scale. These stories came up to us, and I think we were greatly influenced by these stories. I guess thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Sidharth and Subrata. So we have a good understanding of how, sorry, I can hear the echo. If you could please mute your mic. Yeah, thank you. Right. So we got a good understanding of, where the project started and how, of course, we don't have every single team member who worked on this project over here right now, but it gives an understanding of how everyone has played a role in shaping the project the way we see it today. So it's almost time to take the questions from the audience. So while I can see the questions coming in. I thought, why not we first start with a question. I'd like to ask Balram ji. In fact, I feel this is a great, inspiring case study. I know buildings is one of the many. I mean, it's not like a focus for the organization, but the way it has shaped it tells a lot. So I kind of wanted to ask you. Recently the IPCC climate report has come out, and it clearly spells out that everyone has to act like it's an emergency and do their bit for the environment. And a lot of companies are beginning to look into ESG and maybe starting to rethink their vision with respect to what they're doing for the environment, or maybe develop one if they don't have already thought about it. And so while they are kind of moving on this path, what would you like to share from your extensive experience to someone like them who are getting started? Because that will be a trigger for many such good projects to come about in the near future.
So I think, Deepa, ours was one of the case where we worked with the small and marginalized farmers, with the community, and we work for the environment and for the organic agriculture, and also providing products to the consumers which promotes health. In our case, I will say that we have showcased that while doing this, you can also be profitable. So I think that is one of the takeaway from our example, where we have grown over the year, because we, right from the beginning, our promoters, we were not profitable in the beginning. We really spent a lot of effort and money in the beginning, but our promoters had a firm belief that this is the future idea. So that's how I think we sustained and we persisted, and it is very profitable, not only as a business, but to the environment, to all the stakeholders. So I think that's what I will say, that this is thing of the future.
So what I hear is, if you really want to walk the talk, then you need to have a long-term vision. And
yes,
like you said, the three bottom line of sustainability, which is people, planet, and profit, all of that has to be taken care of. And you will eventually see what you have already achieved and are achieving.
Yes, right? Yes.
Right.
Also,
So,
I will also say that this is a beautiful campus which has been created. Anybody comes from outside I will appreciate it. In fact, Uttar Pradesh government has noticed it very well, and we are getting a lot of visitors like investors from many countries and other dignitaries. But I will simultaneously say that we are running one of the most efficient production of tea bag manufacturing. The top EMA machine suppliers who has more than 90% of the market, they have also awarded us the way we run it. I think it is all because of the environment which we have created. That's why the efficiency has gone up. So we ourselves have realized this. So I think this is all result of the sustainable efforts which we are putting in.
Great. Good to know about that. And yeah, I think from our audience, anyone would like to visit this facility to really see and experience this in real, most welcome to do so. Right. So we do have some questions from the audience directly about architecture and all the, and I think it's relevant to the speakers, and I think I'll start taking those in. So the first question here, the idea of open spaces is a smart one, but don't you think rain would pose a problem with respect to these spaces?
Uh, so we in climate we studied, of course, the rain which Lucknow as a city receives, and keeping all that in mind, all our corridors are deeply shaded, and in fact, I think the every corridor is in the range of almost 8 to 10 feet. So the idea is that, and then again, the way the orientation of the blocks are, rains have a very minimal impact because of the depth of the corridors, and largely the corridors are mostly in the public building, which is more like the public areas, office areas, which are not the production areas as such. I think all the production areas have the standards which a production facility of this nature wanted to achieve, and from an energy point of view, all the production areas are, I think, pretty much watertight, and they don't have any kind of issue or challenges if we are talking about rains. Probably Gurneet can elaborate further.
Yes, so Siddharth, you have rightly said that the open areas, open corridors are primarily for this office space. The goods and the manufacturing or the packaged material transporting from one to another, they are all within an area which is enclosed. And just to take, because whenever we look into different options, we try to see the benefit and see how. So when we compared that part, yes, there was this question from the client side also, that what will happen in the day. But if I see the benefit of having a cross ventilated space, a daily space versus a rain for few days, not few days, but the issue of rain coming in for few hours or few days, the benefit of cross ventilation, having natural ventilation, was way more than the problem of rain coming. Deepa, you are on mute.
Sorry, thank you. Right, so we go to the next question. There are a couple of them on the same topic, so I'll club it together. So, what is the plan for net zero, and especially for energy and water? Because right now we saw about 14 to 15% of energy is being produced on site.
So the plan for going net zero is that now, since the building is in operation for almost like 2 years, the plan is to further optimize the operational energy use, bring down the operational energy use, and then also go for off-site solar installation, so that the project can achieve net zero. So whatever we are consuming in the factory, we will try to offset off-site with different methods. So we are also looking into, because since we work closely with farmers, so there is a lot of biomass generated there. So how we can look into using that and have a biogas system in place, something from solar energy. So these other options are we are evaluating, and the idea is to offset that much offsite from the site.
Thank you. I also want to add that our whole idea of bringing in such projects on the webinar platform is to showcase how they have sharply reduced the energy demand, and that is not, we want that to become like a commonplace. It's not there yet, but that has to happen. And so we try to bring in as many diverse diverse examples as possible. So this one being a factory, we've showcased other kinds of buildings as well. And yes, of course, energy generation is equally important. However, this is the approach to get to as lean as it can get in terms of energy use. Right, then we come to another question here. How will you ensure building will be operated based on design in mind?
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Yeah, the question is, how will you ensure that the building will be operated like the way it is designed to be?
So maybe I can
Like
take this, or Siddharth, you want to take that? Balramji?
So are we talking about like post-operational usage?
Yeah, so I think what it means is the building is designed with a lot of efficient technology and passive design in mind. Is it also being operated considering all of this is in place and you're really like using it the way it was just intended to be used?
Absolutely. We are using it the way it is intended to be used, and in fact we are improving wherever required. Further, we are consulting Studio Lotus as well as Gurneet ji as and when required. In fact, Gurneet's team has already done an audit for his six of his colleagues came and stayed with us for 4-5 days. We did another audit to see how we can improve it further. So it is not only being used the way it is intended, but it is we have every intention to improve it.
The other important aspect I would like to highlight is that the best part was the operation team was part of the design process. So from the very starting, the operation team was part of that. They were aware of the sustainability aspect, that why the building was oriented this way, why we have gone with the Jali system. So they are aware of the benefits and all those discussions. So it was a very smooth transition from design to the operation team, where they are, where you don't have to take a training session for them and explain them. So the reason why it is being operated as it was designed was because the operation team was also part of the design challenge.
Extremely important. I think this is very, very essential aspect.
Generally,
if operation team is involved, they will use the way it is designed.
Right. So generally, in any project team is separate, and then they hand over it to the operation team. But over here, operation team was part of the design discussions.
Great. That already has answered a couple more questions that has come in on the same point. And we'll take this one last question now. Was there any particular pre-existing building from which you drew inspiration from? How did you decide which passive strategies will work out to be the most efficient for the given case?
I don't think there was any study or any example available or pre-existing building which, at least from actual point of view, we could do any inspiration from, because the plot is in a factory area, and it's around the crop fields. I think definitely the views which you could get, especially from the upper level of the crop fields, was one inspiration, because wherever you are and you look out, you'll, at least for now, because the surrounding areas were pretty empty, you'll get the fields around, which is itself like soothing and calming. in terms of any, in terms of the exterior expression of the building, if you're talking about those aspects, it was purely about, you know, the soul of the soul of the vision of the brief, like the company's soul. How can that be interpreted in still a very meticulous and a finished way, which the company is also about? So there are these two facets of Organic India. It has these values, which is the soul, and how the expression, the so-called skeleton of the building, can be expressed. I think it purely came from all brick, which is a fairly local material over there, and its various manifestations in terms of creating, as I mentioned earlier, some visual patterns, some jalis, some full height walls, some low height walls. It was just a play of just two simple materials, and how for the various forms and volumes of the building, how it can play around with it. So while managing the interior requirements, how it can gel as an integrated block. And I think we kept on evolving as we proceeded further. There were many iterations, and as and when we evolved with the brief given from the clients and with the input, especially coming from EDS in terms of shading and the lintel heights and the wall window ratios, it all emerged from there. So a lot of internal expression and the requirement kind of expressed outside. It was not really about creating a particular form and then reinterpreting it. It kind of emerged through all the different steps taken.
Also, I think like how sometimes, you know, some of the simple material can do magic for you. Like we have taken this bricks and all, and we have like created like pattern out of it and all of these things. So all this earthy material, which is very really close to the, you know, farmers, which is very approachable. So that's how it the whole story is incubated. Yeah.
Thank you very much. That was the last question, and like you said, this is the reason why it is always interesting to hear case studies and get insights into the process behind the outcome. Although we didn't discuss much about team dynamics and such things, it is pretty evident that a multidisciplinary team it clearly builds on the expertise of every team member to eventually, impact the outcome that we see today. So thank you everyone, all my guest speakers, for their valuable time and sharing their experiences and insights. Before we close, I have just a few things to share. Like just like this case study, if you would like to, tell the audience that if you would like to share projects that you worked on or you know of on our website or on our webinar platform, do write to us at nzeb@edsglobal.com. All our webinar recordings are available on our YouTube channel, NZEB India. They are organized as playlists for design, technology, policy, and skills. It's a wealth of knowledge, so do access it, in case you haven't yet seen the previous webinars. So with that, we have come to the end of today's session. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deepak. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Deepak.